What if I told you there's a new card that allows you to turn one card in your hand into a rank 6, a link 2, with no restrictions and a really tiny engine? You already know what I'm talking about. It's Fiendsmith, it's coming out in Infinite Forbidden, which is about a month away from today, and I really want to break down this archetype, this card, and is it even healthy for the game? And before we begin, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and let's get to it and start discussing the Fiendsmith. So the Fiendsmith is a level 6 light fiend monster that says you can discard this card as cost, add one Fiendsmith spell or trap from your deck to your hand. You can target one Fiendsmith equipped card you control and one monster on the field, send them to the graveyard. If this card is in your graveyard, you can shuffle one other light fiend monster from your graveyard into the deck or extra deck as cost and special summon this card. You can only use each effect once per turn. So this already reads kind of crazy, right? Discard stat a card can be a board breaker by equipping monsters to it and then sending monsters your opponent controls, and of course, it can special summon itself from the graveyard. But how does this card get to a rank 6 and a link 2 completely out of just its own effect? Well, it's accompanied by other cards as well. The normal spell card Fiendsmith Tractus says that you can add one light fiend monster from your deck to your hand and then discard one card. You can banish it from the graveyard as cost to fusion summon one Fiendsmith fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material. Now, the second effect will not be coming up a lot of times, but the first effect of adding a light fiend from your deck to your hand, then discarding, will come up a lot. Because you're going to add a card called Fabled Lurie, which is a very old Terminal World card that is a level 1 Light Fiend Tuner that says if it's discarded to the graveyard, special summon it, and it's not even once per turn. You will continue to link up into, of course, a Link 1 monster that is called Fiendsmith Requiem, which only requires one Light Fiend. You can special summon it only once per turn, and during the main phase as a quick effect you can tribute it as cost and special summon one Fiendsmith monster from your hand or deck. Then you can target one non-link light fiend monster you control and equip it from the graveyard to it, and this is what gives the Fiendsmith ability to send monsters as a board breaker as well. So, you activate the Fiendsmith from your hand, you search the Tractus, which you activate and it searches the Fabled Lurie. Summon the Lurie back to the field by its own effect because you discarded it from Tractus, then you link one into Fiendsmith Requiem. You tribute it, then of course you summon the Fiendsmith from the deck, you use the Fiendsmith in your graveyard to shuffle back one of the light fiends to summon itself, you go up into the link 2, and the link 2 called Fiendsmith Sequentia says that during the main phase you can fusion summon one fiend fusion monster from your extra deck by shuffling back materials from the graveyard. You're going to summon the Fiendsmith Lacrimosa, which is a level 6 light fusion, which says that if it's fusion summon, you can target a light fiend in your graveyard or banishment and add it to your hand or special summon it. Summon it, summon back the Fiendsmith, and then you have a link 2 and a rank 6 all out of one the Fiendsmith card. So now that we discussed how it's actually done, let's discuss whether it's actually good. We've seen a lot of really strong engines, especially coming out of Age of Overlord, which was the beginning of this year. So now that we understand what this archetype or very small engine can do, let's discuss how healthy is this for the game. So this is a 5-card engine in your deck. Only 5 cards. If you're playing 40 cards, it's barely noticeable, and all you need to do is just draw the Fiendsmith or even the spell, and you can combo from there. So, in terms of other engines that we've seen, we have things like the Horus engine, which can also provide you with a monster negate, only a monster negate, or like a zombie vampire that you can summon to the field, and that engine requires around 6 cards to play, which is honestly not that bad. We also have a bit of an older engine, the Adventure engine, which was a 9-card engine with bricks and a lot of problematic cards, a lot of restrictions, and yeah, this is what power creep looks like. An engine that previously was very strong, and it's even banned in the OCG, now is just like, it's 9 cards, it's too much, it has a lot of bricks, you can't activate normal summon monsters effects during the turn you activate Rite of Ramesir. It's kind of tough, right? But when you think about it, this engine, you know, moving up 2 years from the grand creators and you can actually feel the power creep happening in real time. So yeah, in terms of those engines, just a generic engine with no restrictions that can generate an Omni Negate or a Negate or an interruption, this one is pretty good. So the Fiendsmith is going to be something that people will really be looking forward to, because right now, you know, Snake Eyes in the OCG got hit a little bit, lost a few cards. All that void that was created from the ban list was just filled with Fiendsmith cards. So you lose an Ash, you lose some wanted copies, and you just fill everything with a Fiendsmith, because not only can summon DDD Wave High King Caesar, you can also summon Beatrice that can send Snake Eye Ash from the deck, which you can then revive with Promethean Princess Bestower of Flame. So this engine is extremely versatile. Another thing that is making this engine a lot better in the OCG is the new Underworld Goddess. It's called Moon Goddess of the Closed World, and it's called the Baby Goddess for a reason, because it is a retrain of Underworld Goddess in a Link 2 form. And besides letting you use your opponent's monsters as link material by its own effect, it has a very different application here. It's a Link 2 that requires only effect monsters, so it's completely generic, and it's a light fiend, which means that for every 2 monsters that you can put on the board, no matter which monsters they are, you can then link up into the Fiendsmith Link 1 on top of the goddess, making it much easier to access than just drawing the Fiendsmith. It becomes extremely consistent, and thus a lot more problematic. But surprisingly enough, Battles of Legend Terminal Revenge did not actually release the Baby Goddess into the TCG, so right now people are wondering, how good is the Fiendsmith going to be on release? It's still going to be good. It's not going to be as consistent, because you're not going to get every 2 monsters and turn them into a Fiendsmith combo, but if you still draw Fiendsmith, it will still give you a rank 6 and a Link 2 off of 1 card. And eventually, maybe it's even going to be in Infinite Forbidden as an import. You might actually get the Baby Goddess there as well, and this whole conversation is moot. This engine can be splashed into almost any deck right now, as long as you're not locked into fusions from the extra deck. But yeah, this engine can be played in almost every deck, and it just turns every deck into being able to make a lot more with its cards than what it is today. Now, the last thing I want to discuss is, are these 1 card Omni Negate engines even good for the game? I remember a few weeks ago when Snake Eyes was peak tier 0 in the last North American YCS, people were really complaining about the fact that turning 1 card into a lot of advantage, like Snake Eyes Ash, means that you can play a lot more non-engine in your deck. As long as your engine is smaller and smaller, you can fit more hand traps and board breakers into your deck, which means that 1 card can just generate a ton of advantage, like Snake Eyes Ash, and the rest of your cards are just hand traps to have hand trap wars with your opponents. And while this is very interactive, right, considering the fact that both players are just throwing hand traps at each other, is this the game that we really want to see? Normal summon Snake Eye Ash, get hit with an Imperm, pass into 4 other hand traps, and just bring it back to you, and game states are very simplified. But this goes hand in hand with that, creating a 1 card engine that can generate a ton of advantage. Some other decks can't even pull off this with their own full engine, and the rest of the deck is just non-engine. I don't know if this is good. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Fiendsmith is going to be a hot commodity. It's going to be one of the most sought after, if not the most sought after card in Infinite Forbidden, so make sure to check it out. And yeah, your thoughts in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.